Hey everybody, this is Fran from the 5-Minute Modeler, and today we're going to look at the assembly of crossing signals that I found online from a company called Osborne Model Kits. And one of the things I've struggled with in N-Scale is trying to find good crossing signals. Now, I know NJ International and there's some others that make the big, crossing signals with the cross bucks and the gates and so forth. But in my layout in the 1970s, those are pretty rare, and really for the high traffic types of crossings. My layout is mostly kind of rural type of thing, so it doesn't need anything much more than these. And I saw these on the internet. I liked them, the way they looked. They looked to be more in scale than some of the other things that are out there. And so I bought a bunch of them, and I'm going to show you how I put them together. They do come with some pretty good instructions, but I kind of modified these a little bit to make it a little bit easier to assemble. So I'm going to show you what I've done. So they come packaged like this, just a little plastic bag, and it's got the instructions as I showed you a second ago, and then it also has some signage right here. Let me just pour that out. It's got a couple of cool little things here. It's got a template for making the cross bucks. It's got some laser cut cross bucks, and then the rings around the lights. And then it has the bases for the lights, as well as the pieces that hold the light housings. Okay, so these are not powered, they're not lit. In my layout, I don't do a lot of lighting and so forth. And then the other thing that these come with is, and they didn't come out when I took the bag, but they come with 2 silver poles for the mast. So, all right, let me get into it and show you what I do. First off, I'm going to talk about some paints. I just used some craft paint. This is black for the light housings, and then I've got just a little, it's called granite gray, but just any light gray will do for any of the parts. That should be silver. And so I use some files, some needle nose files, typically, and I'll show you that, mostly the round ones, similar to this. And then I also use a very sharp X-Acto knife. I use 2 different types of glue. I use some CA glue for gluing the wood to the metal, and then for gluing wood to wood, I just use Eileen's tacky glue. You could use PVA, Elmer's, whatever. I also have a couple other things that I might use. Sometimes I need a little help, but these are just some little clamps and a pair of needle nose pliers, but chances are I'm not going to need that, but we'll see. I'll set them off to the side there. The instructions tell you to go ahead and put it together and then paint it after you're done. I find that painting it before made it a lot easier to assemble rather than trying to paint it while it's all together. This is N-Scale, so they're very small parts, and it's hard to get a tiny brush in there as it is. The way this template works is you place the crossbuck pieces into the template, you glue them at that time, one on top of the other, and then when that dries, you take the pole and you place it right in there and you glue that down, and it all fits together right in there. Okay, now once this stuff dries, we'll start to pull the pieces apart and put it together. Okay, so the paint's dried here, and we're going to go ahead and trim these pieces out. As I showed you earlier, they're pretty easy. They just kind of pop out. They do have score lines there, but I find that if you just kind of poke at it, it's going to pop right out there. And we've got the base, And that goes with, there's two parts to the base. And then this will be for the other one. But I'll leave this one because we're just going to do one here. Okay, and then I'm going to take out a set of these rings. 2, 3, 4. I got 4 there. There's one still stuck. One's still stuck. All right, there's 4. And then I'm going to take a couple of these cross bucks. Okay, we'll set these aside. So what do we have? We have, it's gonna be hard to see I think, but we have 2 little pieces for the cross bucks. We have a base, which includes this piece, and then a top piece, which is more of the decorative, sits right on top there. And then we have these 2 pieces here, which make up the light assembly. And it's probably a little bit hard to see these things, but basically when you put it together, you glue these together, line the holes up. All right, so let's start out. We're going to take our template, move these pieces up here. We're going to take the template first, and we're going to put a piece into the template. Okay, now one of the things that I found was that the pieces are a little bit bigger than the template. And so hence why I use the file. I have, I think, one of these that I already used, and I already kind of widened it out. I think this is the one. Yeah. All right, I'm just going to push it down in there so it's all the way to the bottom there. Now I'm going to get a little of my tacky glue, and I just put a little bit on here. Don't need a lot. Okay. I'm going to take a little drop. Not much at all. No, it's kind of a big drop. I don't need that much. I'm going to put some right in the center here where the cross bucks go. Okay. Now I'm going to take the other cross buck, which is right here. Be able to focus these a little better. All right, and so I'm going to push that down on there. There's a little bit of glue, get that off. And just going to lock that down in there, okay? I'm going to let that dry a couple of minutes, and then we'll come back and we'll do the light post. Okay, well, let's set that aside right now. We'll come back to that. All right, so now we have these 2 pieces here. As I mentioned, there's a top piece and a bottom piece. The top piece is the one with the longer arms, if you will. Okay, these both have holes, and we're going to glue these together, one on top of the other. This is why I do one at a time too, so I don't mix the parts up and put 2 of the long pieces together or whatever on one. So just a little bit of glue, probably too much, and then I'm just going to lay this on top, and then I got to align it because I didn't really do a good job there, but I'm going to put a toothpick in the hole, and then I'm going to eyeball this thing and line it up. You'll be able to see that or not, but it's lined up. This is kind of glued together, or will be glued together when it dries. And I'm going to do the same thing now to the base. Okay, so we have 2 pieces of the base. We have the very true base, and then we have the assembly on top, which I happen to leave it black. Some people will paint it silver. I think he recommends painting it silver. And I'm just going to put just a little bit of glue on here. Doesn't need a whole lot, but you don't want it to come apart on you when you're assembling it either. And I'm just going to set that on top of that piece, and then again I'm going to align it so that it's square, and that the hole is aligned as well. What do we have so far? So we have the base, we have the light assembly, and then we have the cross bucks, and then we have these rings that we'll use in a little bit. All right, while those pieces are drying, I am going to glue the post to the cross bucks there. I'm going to just squeeze out a little bit of CA and apply it with a toothpick. If you had something finer, that would probably work too. Just need to put a little bit there, right in the middle. That's where the pole will get affixed. And if you want to get sloppy with it, you can put some on the pole. But I'm not going to do that. I'm going to align that and make sure that that's up to the top of the pole. And now it's going to dry. I'm going to hold that there for a few seconds and let it dry. And one of the things the instructions are very clear about, they say to make sure you let the glue dry on both of these pieces before removing it from the template. It is a little bit of a tight fit, and you could pull it apart as you were doing that. I'll sometimes take one of the other templates and put it underneath there just to even it up a little bit. Make it straight. All right, so now I think these have dried long enough. It's only been about 10 minutes, but I think they've dried. One of the things that I will do before I assemble it is I'll take one of the posts and I'll run it into the hole to make sure that it's aligned and up and down on the rod. That way, when I go to assemble it, I'm not fighting it. Now on this one here, I tried it earlier and it's a little bit tight. Actually doesn't quite fit, and I found that on others. I think that's probably due to the fact that I maybe didn't align it perfectly. So I'm going to take my round needle nose file, and I'm just going to place it in there and run a couple of turns with it. And hopefully don't pull it apart. See if that didn't open it up a little bit. Just want to make sure it can get in there, and yeah, there we go. So there, that fits in nicely. Okay. All right. So now we're going to add the round housings for the lights, or the cowlings, or whatever you want to call them. These little round rings. Okay. And this is probably the tedious or challenging part of this thing because the parts are very small. But basically what you're going to do, and it's good to remember that the long ends of this are going to be on top, okay? Just remember that, because you could do it upside down. It doesn't really look bad. I did it, but I didn't want to take it apart, so it is what it is now. But I'm going to take a little of the glue, white glue, since these are wood, and I'm just going to put it on the top. I don't know if you can see that on the top of each one of these. Okay, probably a little too much. And now I am going to use my X-Acto knife to kind of grab this thing, this little ring, and place it onto the light housing, hopefully. I like to kind of push it down all the way to the end. And I'm going to push that down gently. Okay, oops. All right. And then I'll do the same on the other side. I'm going to let this dry first. Okay, it looks like that's dried now. I'm going to do the other side of that. Again, it's the same process. We're going to put a little glue on the top. This is this side here. And we're going to add the rings. I guess you could put the glue on the bottom side. It really doesn't show up when it's dry though, so. This is sometimes where I use the needle nose pliers or something just to get in there so I don't have to hold on to the rings. Good. All right, so I'm going to set that aside to dry. Now we're going to remove the cross bucks and pull from the template, and hopefully I align this correctly and it's not going to be a problem. But you never know. And, I have my cross bucks here with my pole, and I'm going to first make sure that this is right side up. Oh, I lost one of those little cowlings. I'll put that on after I do this. But I want to make sure that the top part is the long part. Ready? And I'm just going to put that through the hole. Okay, we got two little things to do now. We're going to put the railroad crossing labels onto the cross bucks, and I generally start these by bending it right on the line and then using my X-Acto knife to kind of pull it up and get it onto the knife, sliding under. These are self-adhesive, so you don't have to do anything except align it properly. And so that's a little bit challenging if you got bad eyes. Okay, that's on there. I'm going to just use my fingers to press it in place. I am going to take a little bit of red paint. I'm going to color the lenses. Basically, I'm using a craft paint, and this is just brilliant red. I tried using a crimson, but it didn't show up too well, so I went with the red, brilliant red, and it seemed to look a lot better. So you just want to tap the top of this thing with a little bit of red paint. And the same thing with that one. Doesn't have to be perfectly round. In fact, it probably won't be, but it's going to convey the idea that it is round and that there is a lens there. Here's the front side, and not too bad for a couple of dollars and a little sweat equity. You can put these things together, and they look great on the layout. Especially if you don't have them right in the foreground, it'll be fine. Even in the foreground, they'll be fine for most people because they're not really looking at the cross bucks. Now, if you're of the nature to wire these things up, I don't know how you would do that, but I think it would be a pretty neat project. You know, if you could figure out how to get those little wires in that hole. Maybe run them up the back or the side or something like that. But that's the problem with end scale, is it is difficult. Not everything scales down to the size there. So thanks for watching another 5-minute Modeler Up episode, and I hope that you found this interesting and helpful. And have a great week, and we'll catch you on the next video.